second day of cryptography, or the second video at least. Today we're going to do two different types of substitution ciphers. Remember, a substitution cipher is where you substitute another symbol, usually a different letter, sometimes a picture or numbers even, for each letter in your ciphered word. We're going to start with a keyword shift. You can take notes on this if you want, of course, but since you have this video, you can go back and rewatch it if you need to. I don't think it's terribly difficult to remember. To use a keyword shift, these are your steps. The first thing that has to happen is that the sender and the receiver have to agree upon a keyword. So our secret keyword, I'm telling you this now, and then you have to remember this when you do a worksheet, for example, or a quiz. Our keyword is going to be the last word in the directions right before the problem that I give you. So I'm going to write this down. Our keyword is the last word in the directions right before the problem. This is not the most beautiful writing, I apologize. After you agree upon the keyword, your cipher text, remember your cipher text goes right below your plain text. So you're going to have the plain alphabet written out, and right underneath A, B, C, D in your plain text, you're going to write your keyword. If there are any repeated letters in your keyword, just leave them out. After you write your keyword, you continue the alphabet from wherever your last letter of the keyword was. You just continue on from there. Keep in mind, any letters that you've already used, you have to leave those out. So what ends up happening is, based on your keyword, even though a substitution cipher that was based on a regular shift like we did in the last video, once you have one letter figured out or two letters figured out, it becomes very obvious what the rest of the substitution is. For a keyword shift, it kind of scrambles the cipher text, so you're never looking at the same layout for the rest of the alphabet, even if you have a letter or two figured out. It makes it a little harder to break that type of cipher. So what we're going to do is we are going to do one example. I'll show you how it works, and then you can let me know if you have any questions about the actual problems I give you. After we do the keyword shift, we're going to do one using the Atbash cipher, and then you should be able to do your assignment for these two, or for this video. So here's what I'm going to do. It says practice deciphering using this shift. This is obviously ciphertext because it doesn't make any sense. You can't read it. What I have written below, notice this is just plain text, and I'm sorry this says Smart Notebook. I need to get my subscription renewed, I guess. I need to get the code for that. This is my plain text. It's the alphabet written out like normal, which means below it I'm going to write the ciphertext. The question is, if we are using a keyword shift, I need to know what the keyword is. How do I know what the keyword is? Well, we said it was going to be the last word in the directions right before the problem. So in this case, if you're not paying attention, it's easy to miss. But in this case, my keyword is shift. Those are the directions, and that's the last word in the directions. So to save a little bit of time, I've written some of this out already. Let's see. Notice, underneath each letter I wrote S-H-I-F-T. Now here's the part. Here's the part that it's easy to mess up if you're not really paying attention. You continue the alphabet after T. In the real world, what comes right after T? Well, you either say it in your head or you look up above and you see right after T comes U. So S-H-I-F-T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Notice none of these letters, where's the pen? None of these letters, T, U, V, W, X, Y, or Z, I'm sorry, U, V, appeared in the keyword, so I didn't have to worry about skipping anything. However, when I continue, what comes after A? When I say after A, imagine that the alphabet just sort of wraps around from the beginning. I'm sorry, after Z. After Z comes A. Then B, C, D, E. Oh, it's not F. Why not F? Because I've already used F, so I skip over F. That's where the rest of the alphabet becomes different, because you have to leave out the letters you've already used. I should still have 26 letters in my cipher alphabet, so if they don't match up, then I've done something wrong. But after E, I skip F, and then I have G. I also skip H, J, K, L, blah, blah, blah. I keep going, and then I finish up the alphabet. I don't actually know what that blue box is, so kind of ignore that. Oh, no. Undo that. There you go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this ciphertext from the keyword that we just used, and I'm going to see if I can decipher this message. Go ahead and do this along with me. I'm not going to talk my way through it. I'm just going to write it down. But you do this with me and make sure you're getting the same thing. Make sure you're looking at the right alphabet. When you're doing this, you should be looking at this. The letters that you write should come from the top alphabet. I will talk out the first couple. When I look for U on the ciphertext, that's right here. That goes with F on the plain text. D on the ciphertext goes with O on the plain text. Right, I'm going to continue on. You do this as well. Let's make sure we get the same answer, and then we'll know that you're good to go. And if you finished and you got 4 weeks left, not only did you get that right, but yay, it's a reminder we only have 4 weeks left of school. Okay, so that's a keyword shift. Next, we're going to do Atbash. Atbash actually comes from the Hebrew alphabet, or the idea comes from the Hebrew alphabet, the name. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, so that's where the A comes in. Tav is the last letter. In the Atbash cipher, we are going to take the first letter of the alphabet and switch it with the last letter. That's what our substitution is going to be. Beth is the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And Shin is the second to last. So now we're going to switch the second and the second to last. So what happens when you do the Atbash cipher You basically just flip the alphabet backwards. Oops, there's your answer. Didn't mean for that to be there, sorry. You switch the alphabet backwards. And it's really hard to find a font where the letters all have the same width, so I know this doesn't match up perfectly. I tried to space it a little bit better. But notice we start from A, B, C, D. I keep forgetting you can't see what I'm doing on here. You start with A, B, C, D, and you write that way. And then you write the alphabet backwards. You start A, B, C, D, and you go backwards. But what ends up happening is you can save yourself a little bit of work. You actually only have to write half of each alphabet. Notice A and Z pair up here. A and Z pair up over here. You don't have to write it twice. Right here is where the alphabet splits in half and starts to repeat itself. So you really only have to write the first half. And after you get to M, you start the N on the bottom and work your way backwards. Using the Atbash cipher, this is a little bit different than the ones we've used before. In the past, if you confused your plain text and your cipher text, you could get everything all wrong. On this one, the things that you substitute, if you replace A with Z on one end, you replace Z with A on the other. So Atbash is actually a little bit easier to use. When we look for S, we replace it with H. V becomes E. I becomes R, and then we have another E. If you haven't noticed this already, it's a time saver a little bit. Notice we had two V's here. Once we realized one of them was an E, for this type of cipher, the other one's going to be an E as well. So you can replace all the letters that are the same at once. When we look for R, we get an I. H becomes S. Z is A. T is G. L is O. O, I'm going to skip, and I'm going to put this O for that L as well. W becomes D. M is N. And V is E again. We had one of those up there. Okay, so those are your two new ciphers, keyword and Atbash. I am going to remind you, because this is going to keep coming up over and over again, and this is one of our overall themes. These are both substitution ciphers. In a couple of videos, we're going to get to something called a transposition cipher, and that's a whole different category. But right now we're on substitution ciphers. So I will have an assignment posted for you. Make sure you get this one done, and then you can watch your next video. Thanks, and talk to you next time.